Hello, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good whatever you are and wherever you are. We are bringing you some Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament Group AA action. Got a winner's bracket matchup here between the Boulder and daaanty. And this match in particular is a pretty big deal. daaanty is up 1-0 in this best of three. And as the #1 overall qualifier coming into the group stage, if he wins this game, not only will he advance to the group stage, he will lock in the he will advance to the bracket stage. We're already in the group stage, but he'll also lock in the #1 overall seed in the bracket. So calling this match tonight, I am Reg. I'm joined by Dane. So Dane, we got the hype of potential #1 bracket seed. What else do we got tonight?
Well, for the Boulder, he's looking to keep his winner's brackets life alive, as if he were to lose this match, he would have to play another match after this against Naps to see if he will make the bracket stage. Whereas if he were to win today, it'd just be one win away in the game 3, which would immediately follow tonight. So a lot of stakes on the line for both players here today. I'm really excited to see what we're going to get today.
Yep. Somebody out of this pair is going to brackets tonight. Just depends, daaanty with this game or either of them with the immediately following game 3. So I think we should be off here in a couple seconds. I think Boulder will be switched over as well. But until then, we're playing the same old hard standard mode. We're keeping that for the entire tournament. I think a lot of people have grown to know and love it by the stage that we're at. We've seen a lot of matches with it. And
yeah. All right, so we'll get to see what item our uncle is giving us today and what item we've got over in that first chest.
That's a good item to get immediately. Let's see how much daaanty uses it for some movement tech here on the way to the castle.
Yeah, it's really nice to get that as like a sort of boot substitute for the early game, just hook-shotting onto things to go a little bit faster throughout your route. And it's also just nice because it opens up so many locations and stuns enemies. So just a good item all around.
And I have been informed that we may be without Boulder's feed for the first couple minutes of the race, but he will get switched over and on in a few minutes here. But we do have Cane of Samaria as our weapon. Pretty interesting one, really.
Yeah, it does. It's one of those magic weapons which you always have to worry about your magic meter going. But unlike some of the other magic weapons, you don't really have to worry too much about running out of magic because the Cane of Samaria blocks persist and you can use them to keep damaging them. However, it is not very fast to farm items with, so you're kind of hoping that you either have an early bomb drop pool, maybe even a bomb stun prize, so you don't have to try to farm for bombs.
Yep. Unfortunately, we did see the small prize there when daaanty was pushing that Samaria block, or the stun prize, excuse me. Words are hard tonight. I'm very sorry, everybody. But we did see that the stun prize is just a single heart. So nothing doing there, but we haven't seen any drops from non-stunned enemies yet.
Yep, still none there. Not getting any luck. But the heart stun prize can be okay, because if you're ever going to pinch and you need hearts, not necessarily an escape, but later in the game, if you find yourself in a pinch, can be helpful. And also getting that mushroom, which will be a nice little fetch quest you could do early. And they can even keep it around to fake powder having already gotten the Samaria, though I wouldn't expect that to come into play unless they also get the hammer.
Yeah, early hammer's definitely gonna be the tell there, because without that, it's really easy to just save and quit to Link's house and turn in the mushroom. Although if they do that, they could hypothetically hard reset and keep it if the mushroom turns out to be nothing.
Yeah, with the Cane of Samaria, you're definitely more tempted to keep it around. And still, daaanty not seeing a single drop from any of these guards, so we have no idea what drop pool they're in today.
And remember that all these green guards, they're supposed to be 50-50 on whether they drop anything or not. So, bit unlucky there, because he's killed a fair few of them at this point. And yes, as just a general reminder for chat, as daaanty heads down to the ball and chain guard here, we are aware of the issue with Boulder's feed. It will be resolved, hopefully within about a minute to a minute and a half or so.
we'll get our first look at Zelda's cell. Just the small key that we were guaranteed to get before Dark Cross, or before that key door in Dark Cross.
Yep, Dark Cross is the vanilla location for it, so it can very much be there. But we've seen a mushroom and a heart piece so far. Still a map to be found. That's going to be somewhere in the next 5 checks.
Yeah, and so that hook shot, I believe you can use that to kill the rats as well. So that'll be another quick way to farm with it, rather than having to use the Cane of Samaria, which can be a bit clunky sometimes.
Yes. Of course, with the Cane of Samaria dealing fighter sword damage and the rats only taking 1 hit to kill, it's kind of 6 to 1, half dozen to the other, because the rats can just repeatedly ram the block and generate a bunch of kills that way, but it's pick your preference.
Yep, like in that one corner in the first sewer of Escape, the Cane of Samaria does a real nice job of getting rid of a bunch of them quickly. And still not, I don't think daaanty's going to be able to farm the snakes unless they happen to be the bomb drop pack. Maybe we'll see it on Boulder's side. Doesn't look like he got a bomb either.
No. I'm curious if Boulder has even seen any drops, but I do believe actually the hookshot kills the snakes outright as well, if I remember correctly. I remember learning that recently and being surprised by it. So might get a little bit of trying for that in the next room here for daaanty, just to see if he can get any drops at all here.
And seeing that blue rupee from the rats means the rats are not going to give us any help to get bombs today.
Okay, save us snakes. Nope. Heart into Heart is not a bomb pack. So save us bombs in the Dark Cross. That's our last hope.
Yeah, looking like no bombs. But on the plus side, both of these runners will know that their opponent also did not get bombs. If daaanty had gotten so unlucky to not get that second heart, he'd probably have to worry a bit about if his opponent could have gotten bombs. But when you see that neither of the drop packs have bombs, it's just nice, you know, okay, yeah, I'm probably going to have to come back here, but my opponent is too.
Yeah, so at this point, I think both of these runners are kind of probably wanting to see an early Power Glove. Not necessarily to get any advantage over their opponent with it, but just so that they don't have to do the long walk through the sewers again.
Yeah, you always hate doing that. So for those who are not used to Standard, even without the lamp, you will still have the light through going back to the back of Escape, unlike in, say, Open Mode, where that location will be dark.
Yep, the usual joke is that Zelda is a lamp, but even when you leave her behind and you take the long walk back through the sewers from the castle, you will still have that light cone, so. We are out now. Getting the map check here, that's 5-6 at Eastern Hera, and then a regular crystal at the desert, so all crystals. All 5-6ers there too, so maybe early Pyramid Fairy if we find a bow. daaanty opting not to go for the lumberjack check, it looks like.
Yeah, pretty standard. When you don't have the boots, don't worry about it till you get it, and then once you have the boots, it's in logic. So it'll be nice to know that then.
Yeah, it's standard for sure. I'm kind of a big fan of it in a situation like this where we are bomb poor, just to have an extra chance at bush crabs and triples. Like you see daaanty not going to check that bush crab at all here. And it remains to be seen whether he'll kill an enemy and double back for that tier 1 triple. No, he's saving and quitting.
Yeah, that's definitely a very good point. When you're low on bombs, you really like to rely on those tree poles and bush crabs to try to bail you out. We'll see where daaanty's going. It looks like he's doing Kakariko from the south route.
Honestly, I kind of like this just as much as buying bombs in CAC and doing it south to north after approaching from the woods. I'm not going to say I like it more, but when that's your alternative, I definitely don't hate it. Sorry, go on.
As another point, so if you're coming up through this way and you were to get, say, mountain access through Kakariko, with the hookshot, you may be tempted to make a play up there early, and it's kind of on your way to walk back up to that rock.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. If you find the boots, lamp, and sword, for example, you could double back and check lumberjack as well. But we did see daaanty only got 1 bomb off those 50-50 bushes south of the grove. good news for him, nothing on the race game. Was able to save that bomb. Boulder getting bailed out with bombs on the bottle vendor.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see because then you don't have to worry about running down to get the bombs on Boulder's side to do these first few checks.
There are plenty of bombs in North Kakarika, so I'm expecting daaanty probably to just, go buy bombs here, not really care about the one he found, and then just do the checks as normal. Meanwhile, Boulder, no real loss of efficiency here, just a little bit of extra walking back and forth to get back to Blind's hideout, but that's peanuts.
Yeah, you're definitely happy to see those bombs that he got and just be able to do basically your normal route, even though you didn't come in here with bombs.
Moon Pearl is a pretty nice find. Almost always going to find that one early, but can get a little annoying when it's as late as it can get.
Yeah, and you can always use that to get the extra checks should you decide to do a fake flipper. We also see the lamp over there on Boulder's side. So lamp and Moon Pearl so far is basically all we've seen in Kakariko, and I believe we've seen all the checks now between the two runners.
Yes, we have now with that one in the back of Blind's hideout. So unfortunately, no glove, which would have been our mountain access like you were talking about earlier, but still a couple of finds.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll see some earlier routes like going over to Eastern or maybe the mountain early, but with this item set, I feel like you just go to the South Shore because you really need something else to point you in another direction.
Yeah, Eastern would be a bit of a spicy play here for sure. Back of Saha's Closet without going into Eastern would be interesting. That's 3 relatively quick checks, and then you can just immediately go to the South Shore afterwards and leverage that into like the fake flipper checks if you want to. And that would leave pretty much nothing left on the board as far as immediate availability goes. I guess that long walk back through the castle.
Yeah, we're dipping into Eastern without a bow, which neither of those options are ones you want to do unless you know you have to.
Yeah, the lamp does open up one additional check in there in the logic, but nobody really likes that vanilla big key chest.
Yeah, especially going in there without a bow. Not only are you going to have to go the long way to that check, you're going to have to do a double dip most likely.
Yeah, almost certainly. If you go in there without a bow. Vanilla-ish bows do happen, but it's randomizer. It'd be weird if it did.
So we're seeing the dam checks from daaanty. We saw just the 50 in the chest and the piece of a heart over there on the dam. It looks like daaanty's going to continue over to do the rest of the South Shore. Some runners may have to do a Gina in certain circumstances after the dam, but daaanty's just going to do the standard going over to the mini Boulder cave.
Yeah, I think usually if we see a Gina, it feels like we'll see mini Molten Cave before the dam, just to not leave that 5-check location on the board. But
yeah, absolutely, because a dense location like this can give you items that change your plans. Maybe it gives you a bow and makes Eastern a much better play, for instance.
Yeah, nothing of the sort today, unfortunately. And daaanty 40 rupees short of Zora, but I've got to imagine that Ice Rod Cave was always the plan for him here because of the ability to leverage that Moon Pearl into additional fake flipper checks.
Yeah, they unfortunately do not have the glove to even be able to farm the thief back here by Ice Rod Cave to get a little bit of extra money, but you can always just hope that you get a 50 or a couple 20s on the way.
Yeah, Ice Rod Cave, Hobo, and then 2 in the waterfall is 4 checks to try to pull 50 rupees out. And actually, Boulder's saved some rupees from not having to buy those bombs, so he actually is above 500. Can check Zora regardless of what the next few checks have in store for him.
All right, we'll get our first look at Ice Rod Cave. Boulder's following Dainty up here, and it's the flute. So yeah, that'll probably change your mind, because if you want a fake flipper with that flute, you can just cut flute back over to 8 and get it whenever you want. So definitely just immediate activate that. You can go up the mountain with the hook shot, or even do early Agina if you're playing and want to play defensive against your opponent, having done that. So plenty of options now with giving that for a flute.
Yeah, and we saw the immediate save and quit there from Dante. He knows flute to 8 is the way if you want to fake flipper. And honestly, there's no reason to choose the out of logic fake flipper play right now over the in logic 10 something checks on the mountain. A lot more likely to find progression on the mountain here.
Yeah, the flute there just changes the calculus so much, because before that you're looking at, you got Eastern, you've got Saha's Hut, and you've got Agina. But now we've also got all those mountain checks, and it's much quicker to get back to fake flipper should you decide to do it later. So just very nice to get that, and Dainty will be able to flute around now.
Yep, and that flute actually does open up one additional check that we've been kind of quiet about since we found it. We did find that mushroom in the castle. So,
yes.
Fluting to 2, really easy to turn that in, but really reduces the opportunity to save scum it if people care about fake powder with that Samardi already in hand too.
Yep, I mean the one time I'm thinking that would be another good opportunity would be if they were to do Agina, they could save and quit out of there and then turn in the mushroom immediately after, because that's probably going to be the next time they'll want to save and quit.
Yep, but that's the flute for you. Generally, you don't save and quit with the flute in hand unless you're trying to get from Dark World back to Light without a mirror, and there's the rest of the mountain access, at least on the Light World side.
Yep, with Tower of Hera being a crystal, I see no reason not to just do the big long loop of the mountain. You're going to orphan Ether Tablet, we don't have the book, we don't have to worry about that. Just go up here, do your East Death Mountain, along with culminating your loop to Tower of Hera.
Yep. Actually, I might expect Spiral Cave to be the last stop for these runners, just because of how obnoxious it is to reclimb the mountain, and the walk from Hera back to Spiral Cave isn't nearly as bad, but it's not a big thing either way.
Yeah, definitely, because you can either leave that behind, but it kind of feels bad to do that, or you'll have to do it after Hera. The mirror makes routing in Hera a little bit nicer than the hammer and hookshot method, but this is their most dense area. Might as well clear it out.
Actually, the really interesting thing here would be if they found a glove in Hera specifically, and then they had to choose between Spiral Cave and Spike Cave. Although Spike Cave, not in logic without an invincibility item. So maybe less of a concern than I was getting excited over.
Yeah, because that always comes into play when you're doing this sort of route, where you get to the choice where, okay, I have to either do Spike Cave or Spiral Cave, and you just always have to wonder, did my opponent pick the opposite one and that have progression? And it kind of weighs on you for the rest of the seed.
Yeah, especially if you chose Spiral Cave in that, just because Spike Cave is such a out-of-the-way location that lots of runners tend to orphan. But when it has progression, it tends to be pretty big.
Yeah, it's been a bit notorious for showing up big in a few races already.
The only thing we saw in the Paradox Cave, though, was a shovel. You think that's going to be big?
Well, if they keep getting forced, the hammer was a nice brief break from our extremely stingy seed, but if they keep getting forced to get nothing, then I could definitely see that shovel coming up.
Yeah, because Hera is 2 items and Spiral Cave is 1 more. But then after that, we're back to the same predicament we were in before we pulled the flute. You've got the Eastern and Sahasrara area, you've got Agina, and you've got the out-of-logic Zora stuff, and then you just toss the shovel on that pile.
And they can also do the fake powder as well, so should they feel another sequence break because they have that hammer now, but that's it's a much longer check than it feels like, because you gotta go over their hammer, use up all your magic, do the bat cutscene. It's not fun.
Yeah, and neither Samaria or Lamp are good items to do that with, but hey, there's those gloves.
Yeah, the gloves are really nice. Now we have Dark World access. Also can go grab that back of escape that we haven't done yet. But that gives the whole seed is much more open to them now that they just got that glove.
Yes. They can go pretty much anywhere right now that's not blocked by the Titan's mitts or the mirror.
And we got over on Dante's side, we got to see a nice bootsless Harapot setup over there. First try, so very nice, good time save over there.
Yep, I think Boulder's about to try for the same here. Yep. He's going to place the bomb here. I think that position's correct, and then he's going to line himself up. I think that position looks right as well. And yes.
Very nice.
Meanwhile, we've only seen that glove and a small key and a compass so far. Moldor might drop an item. It might drop a map. We know that the big key is in the basement. Whatever Moldorm doesn't drop is in the big chest. And that's fine. We don't need to sit through the basement. Good Harapot.
You love that when you come up here without the big key and you just get to not even get punished for it, get both your items, and don't have to come back to the basement.
Yep. You always love to just not have to do those long checks that you know aren't actually items. It always feels good in your mind.
Dante is going to go over here, get Spiral Cave before leaving the mountain.
Yeah, there's really no reason to isolate this check. It's not that long of a walk back from Hera. The only reason to do so would be Spike Cave, as I mentioned earlier. But with what we've got now, that's nowhere near in logic.
Yeah, and you really just want to not have to climb the mountain again until you've got your Titan's mitts, maybe with Turtle Rock's Crystal, you're coming up here to do that, or maybe even coming up here to do Ganon.
Actually, with the hook shot and what is this, 7 hearts, 8 hearts? Can we actually... I don't even think that's enough health to just brute force it.
Yeah, I don't believe so either.
Hook shot helps a little bit with that, but not very much. So, we'll see where Dante is off to here. Probably the back of Escape with that quick swap to bomb, because that's a really quick 3 items before you go into the Dark World.
Yeah, absolutely. You could get something like a bow that would direct you to go maybe do Eastern first, or you could get, or that would actually let you do pod as well, or maybe a fire rod. One item here could really change what route you want to do.
Yeah, I think finding a bow would probably lead to Eastern first with the current items we've got. I would expect to see Eastern flute to 5, then do pod, because no mirror means you're forced to stay for the Light World first.
Yeah, and with those being, well, we don't know if pod's a crystal yet or not, but with Eastern being a crystal, you definitely are going to want to clear that out. You may want to wait for the mirror, but it's just not worth it sometimes to kind of chase that mirror. Who knows when we'll get it, when you've got Eastern available if it's got items already.
Yeah, that's also a good point. We see Dante hedging the shovel here before chasing the Dark World. Meanwhile, Boulder looks like he's starting in the Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, I wonder if Dante will also continue this fetch quest up to the Fake Powder to go into the Village of Outcasts Dark World portal, or if he's just gonna, maybe he'll just go back over to the Hype Cave portal.
Yeah, flute to 4 signals Hype Cave for sure, which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go east for Pyramid and House of Darkness after this. Especially if pod is a pendant. Bowlocked pod, not nearly as unappealing. But it is a crystal we see. Pendants Turtle Rock, Thieves Town, and Ice Palace.
Yeah, so, with Thieves Town being the green.
Yep. Not particularly looking at an Ice Rod hunt today unless the seed is rude and put progression on Trinex.
Yeah, and also whenever you see Turtle Rock being one of your pendants, it makes pedestal be a lot less likely.
Yep, which some people don't like that. Hey, Boulder found a sword. That's nice.
Yep, that one chest in Gold Woods was better than the entirety of Hype Cave.
It's pretty impressive, really. I mean, 5's greater than 1, right? That's clearly how it works, but...
Not always with random math. Sometimes 1 is greater than 20.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me. They call them big 20s, but they don't look very big to me. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess it's more what do you do with that 20? Maybe you can do big things, but I guess that's like not even 10 bombs, so not that big.
We do have daaanty. He's not going the pyramid pod route like I thought he might. I guess no bow means that's not nearly appealing enough. Instead, going over to the digging game, and unless Mitts or Mirror show up at this specific spot, it's going to be a save and quit for him afterwards.
Yeah, I think seeing that Pod was a pendant and that Eastern's a crystal, or I guess he doesn't have the bow yet, but he still has the Eastern area, so you're probably wanting to either do a save and quit over to Village of Outcasts or the Eastern area after this, so may as well just grab these chicks on the way.
Yeah, I sort of expect it to be the Village here, even with Pendant Thieves Town. The front four of that is still quite an appealing check, and with it being green pendant and a hammer in hand, honestly, I don't think the back of it's that bad of a check either.
No, I agree. With it being a green pendant, you haven't gone to the Eastern area yet. You can full clear it. There's a lot of appeal. And Pendant Thieves can really burn you if you just do the front four, and then there's one of the two items in the back. 2 or 3 becomes the good.
Yeah, I think we've seen multiple races like that. We do see daaanty save scum the mushroom here. So actually, that's a pretty good use of that save and quit routing off of the dig game there. So he's still got that for if he's back in the Village.
Yeah, and a lot of times you don't even worry about fake powdering, but when you already have the Cane of Samaria and the hammer and the mushroom, it becomes a much more appealing option.
Yeah, I do quite like to say that if we do need the powder for that check specifically, it will obviously show up. But being able to get an item out of sequence there, especially if it's something like, say, the mitts, the boots, or the magic mirror, just can improve your routing efficiency and your speed pretty nicely.
Yeah, and that location, it can be really annoying to get over there if you've already, like, say the powder is behind the Smith's chain or something. You don't really want to ever go back there after doing the Smith's chain. So it can just be nice to know that, hey, if I ever do the Smith's chain, I can combo in Magic Bat no matter what.
Yes. Of course, can't do the Smith chain on this end in this particular seed without the mitts, but those will show up at some point. We do have to find them not only for Misery Mire, but even if that were a pendant, we'd need them to get into Ganon's Tower at all.
Yep, so. Titan's mitts always required.
And we do see... Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was mentioning we were to see the Village of Outcasts for the first time over on Boulder side. A C-shaped house didn't really come up with anything. It looks like he's going right into Thieves Town.
Yeah, I like this play from him. It's a bit aggressive, especially if he continues past the first 4. But already paying off. And we did see on Boulder's side just a few seconds ago, he full cleared the front and middle of Skull Woods for that sword and nothing else. So there is an item in Skull Woods behind that fire rod, in addition to the crystal, and Thieves Town already the place to be.
Yeah, Thieves Town's the most loaded place in the seat so far. And that was just the first 2 checks even. Yeah,
but those 2 checks are now 3 fully clearable crystals for us.
Yeah, because like you were saying earlier, the Bag of Thieves, it seemed pretty appealing before, but now having the Fire Rod and the bow, we can full clear Skullwoods and Eastern, even Pod if we wanted to. So it gives you so much more. I would not be surprised to see him save and quit out of here. But it looks like he's going to continue on. Maybe take a Death Warp. We'll see if he's going to... Yeah, it looks like he's taking a Death Warp.
Yeah, the Death Warp is the way when you don't have the mirror. I like continuing on here because it's the green pendant specifically. 3 items is definitely not nothing, but it's one of those... I think it's kind of really a metagame play. If you think you need to get the advantage of there being something back in there that you get and your opponent does it, or does not, then go for it. Otherwise, it's definitely justifiable to skip on a pendant.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a debate. Once they see the flipper or the fire rod and the bow there, it just becomes, okay, is there really going to be that much stuff in Thieves Town? But it's definitely, the green pendant's still appealing because neither of these runners have been over to Sah's hut yet, so it wouldn't even be an extra time to turn in that pendant.
Right. Which is kind of weighing into why I favor it. We do see Boulder. He did pick up a bottle at the chess game. That's our first one of the seed, making it a fetch quest. He's also showing off that 50-50 bush right by the bombable hut. I think he got it both times even. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to know the locations of those little 50-50 spots throughout the overworld.
Yeah, we saw daaanty try to use the ones south of the Grove earlier in the Light World. And then there's the ones Boulder just used. Another pretty common one is the rock in front of Link's house. The middle of the 3 rocks on the left, or on the right, excuse me, if you have a glove, is a 50-50 spot for a bomb.
Yeah, you'll sometimes see runners, if they get the glove in the first chest in Link's house, that they'll farm that to have a bomb for escape.
Yeah, and sometimes that works out brilliantly and you just get it immediately and you go on. Sometimes it takes you 3 or 4 times and you just feel really silly.
So we're seeing again now, Boulder's doing some checks that daaanty already did. daaanty's going to do some checks that Boulder already did. We'll see how far daaanty decides to go into Thieves Town when he makes his way in there.
Yep, because we did find 2 very good progression items in there. But if there is a 3rd or even a 4th, and daaanty keeps going, that's going to be a huge advantage.
Absolutely. It's very hard to come back to the back of Thieves Town when they have so much other stuff they can do once they get that bow, once he gets the bow and the fire rod.
Yeah. Palace of Darkness especially, it's got a lot of items in it, but it is not necessarily a fast dungeon, especially if you're full clearing it without the mirror. And Hype Cave here is nothing but Boulder with a bow in hand. No, he's taking the save and quit. Okay, so he might do what I was thinking earlier, where you flute to 5, do Eastern and Saha, then flute to 5 again and do Pod. It's kind of janky without the mirror, and it's the reverse order, but it is the closest thing that you'll get to that combination play that people like so much.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a very dense couple of locations. He still has the back of escape too, which we know is empty. But it's just such a good option to get those crystals. There's not really, he could go get the last item, it's the back of Skullwoods, but just 1 item for a crystal versus 3 and 5 for Eastern and Pod.
Did Boulder actually do the back of escape? He save and quit immediately after falling in a second ago, and I don't think he did it before. Weird decision. Oh, he has no bombs, so he couldn't get it.
Oh, that's a tough break.
Yeah, he got 2 bombs from those 50-50 bush immediately south of the brewery there, but he had to use them both in Hype Cave and didn't get a refund.
It looks like daaanty's making the same decision Boulder made, got those 2 items from the front of Skullwoods, and then just left.
Yeah, that's the common play. Going to the back would definitely be a very, very aggressive play at this point.
I was going to say is had they got nothing in the first 4, then I think you'd see both these runners go in the back. But with that rich of a first 2, they just have so many other options.
Yep, and daaanty is showing us one of these options here that Boulder declined with that fire rod in hand. He's going to show us the back of Skullwoods. There's 1 item, and there is a crystal.
Yeah, and both these runners are going to have to do this at some point. So it's kind of like, if this item is nothing, it's neither an advantage nor a disadvantage for daaanty, except for the fact that this moth fight's going to be a little annoying with the fighter's sword, but they do at least have the hammer.
Yeah, Hammer Moth is kind of a crappy hitbox, but it does a ton of damage, so if you can get just friendly patterns there, it's not too bad. Fighter Sword Mothula is my favorite fight in the game to watch people do, though, just because it's a difficult high execution fight.
Yeah, definitely to watch, not to do. Never want to do that fight, but when you see someone of these guys' calibers able to accomplish it, it's very impressive.
Yeah, and then we're going to have to use a decent chunk of magic lighting torches to get to Mothula, but we do have the fire rod as a weapon as well. That should be good for a few shots at least.
Yeah, it really helps when you're doing Hammer Moth and say you get the first 2 or 3 hits with the hammer, and then you can just use the fire rod to close it out.
We do see him switching to the lamp there, but then having to switch back to just get out of the way of some of these Gibdos.
and makes it through the door in time, which is very good. You don't have to go back and use the magic you saved. Meanwhile, Boulder is heading over to the Saha's hut for the first time, and also Eastern area.
Yep. And he's going to start with the Saha's closet. That's going to be 3 very quick and easy items before he gets 3 more out of the Eastern Palace itself. And these items were available the moment we got out of the castle, so let's see what we have. Not really surprised to see nothing there.
And meanwhile, Dainty had a really good start with his moth and able to close it out. That was really nice using the combo of the hammer and the fire rod. He was using the fire rod to knock Moth off the top, and then when he came down, he used the hammer to get some big damage on the Moth. So just a very good fight there. And getting the powder, so we don't have to worry about fake powdering anymore. Just get to use the real powder whenever we feel like it.
Yeah. And that has me more inclined to believe that the magic bat check might actually be hiding something on it. Because it's like I said earlier, if you need the powder for that, it will show up.
Absolutely. The powder can't. If the powder has the mitts, that closes off a lot of the game where the powder cannot be. So, definitely a good point.
So where's Dante off to? It's going to be the sick kid check first and foremost. Is he going to take the powder and turn it in right away after that? This is probably the closest he'll be to it until he gets the mitts and turns in the smith.
Yeah, I think so. He was already thinking about the fake powder earlier with that safe scum, and I think getting the powder just looks like it's pushing him over the edge to think, now that check's not only faster, it's in logic, so definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yep. It is a deceptively slow check, though. Not just the screen transitions you got to go through to get over here, but this little bat flying around and doing his thing, too. It's not actually that fun to slip through. And it's also... Actually, that could have hypothetically been a bow. That would have been interesting.
Absolutely. If one of the runners had elected the fake powder early, maybe they don't go in the front of Thieves Town.
Yeah, and then they miss out on their fire rod until they do decide to go, and honestly, they're probably more sad than anything.
Yeah. Sometimes that second bow can actually lead you into traps.
The good news for the runners, if they had fallen down that, is that front of Thieves Town is still a very attractive location, even when it's a pendant. But it still hurts.
Yeah, we still haven't seen anything really come out of Eastern or Saha's hut, so I think there's still one item left over here in Eastern.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
So we're going to have to wonder where the runners go next. Pod seems like the good play because it's crystal and you got the 5 items. And then after that, they'll have to reassess where they want to go.
Yeah. Pod is always going to just be more likely to have items than Eastern just because it's got almost twice as many of them. But the thing about Eastern Palace is that most of the checks in it are Sphere 1 checks. You can get them from the very start of the game. So there is something to be said about that, even with all the items we've already found.
Yeah, and they're in the situation where neither of these guys did Saha's hut, so the Eastern Palace plus Saha actually has more items than Palace of Darkness.
True. But then you've just compound Palace of Darkness on top of that, and the whole thing gets even better.
Yeah.
But it's also, as Chad's mentioning, Eastern Palace is a 5/6 crystal, so doing this also opens up the Pyramid Fairy for us.
Yeah, really early pyramid play. And that's also nice because then you can combo that in. Neither of these runners have checked the ledge yet, so if they, upon doing pod, walk out with not enough items to make a different play, that's a pretty good play for them.
Yeah. Although I would actually expect them to save and quit, just so that they can use the Dark World portal at Link's house to get to the bomb shop a little faster. But regardless, after the pyramid, they can combo that up into Catfish.
Yeah, there's a lot of checks along the way, so we'll see. Something like I don't know, the boots or the book could change their mind, or a combination of mirrors and flippers, or the mitts, obviously.
Yeah, I think Mitts would probably be the big one, just because of how much that opens. Mire area, Dark Death Mountain, Ice Palace, if they're feeling really interested in it.
Yeah, it'd be quite a spicy play to sequence break Ice Palace early, but definitely an option.
Meanwhile, Boulder, unfortunately, the Armos quick kill got quite away from him, but he does have it down, and that is second crystal for him.
Yep, and Eastern Palace turned up empty, so no help here.
Yeah, but he is quick swapping right over to his flute. I'm expecting this to be flute to 5. And yep, Dark World Portal here right into Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, so it's like in terms of items, I think really the mitts are the only thing that's going to give them a lot of progression on its own. Like I guess the mirror can give them a decent amount of those mirror checks, but there's just a lot of overworld, I guess, if they get anything other than the mitts, or they have to get more than one item.
Yeah, finding something like the flippers would put the Zora checks in the hobo in logic, and both runners did decline to fake flipper after getting the flute out of Ice Rod Cave. So that's an option, but as far as dungeons go, flippers are not progression without the mirror, or the mitts for Ice Palace. So it's pretty much just the mitts that open up big chunks for us on its own.
And with the check, see if pod is bow locked, and it doesn't really matter because we have the bow, but it is always a curiosity, and it is not bow locked today.
Yep. Anything other than a small key in that first chest means that you cannot logically progress in the dungeon and get more items without a bow to go down the right side. And then there are some additional complexities around running out of small keys without going down the right side, rendering the rest of the dungeon bow locked. But that's a bit less common and generally not as much of a concern. The other big thing to keep in mind with Palace of Darkness is that it has 6 small keys, and then 4 of them are going to be in the front checks. You might see 5, you might even see all 6, but guaranteed you're going to find 4 of them in the front here.
Yeah, and you can often use that just to eliminate having to check certain chests because you know they're going to be keys. Boulder has seen 2 keys already, so and there's a third one, so he knows he's going to see at least 1 more, but as many as 3 more.
So gonna go to the right side, see 1 small key and 1 unknown. And Jet's asking and answering questions about bows in bow locked pod. And as of V31, I believe, of the randomizer was that change, bows are progressive in the same way that gloves are. Therefore, you find your first bow is your bow, your second bow is your silver arrows. But that also means that just like with how the randomizer can put a pair of gloves in a gloves lock location, like say on the Landmolas, for example, that's a find for Boulder.
Yeah, for sure. Because if someone would have taken the risk to do Palace of Darkness first, they could have saved a decent amount of time mirroring out of here and doing the Eastern area.
Yeah, but that is a risk that very few people are going to do without that mirror.
Yeah, you have to do the extra save and quit should you get punished, unless you had some other reason to be over in the pod area already. Not going to see that.
Boulder getting a bit pushed around by these beetles here, but there he goes, able to get that crystal switch properly flipped now. Yeah, what does that mirror open for us, though? It opens up a couple of mirror lock checks in the overworld, and that's really it. Like the cave south of the grove, the graveyard ledge.
It's kind of, what it does really though is it makes it so that a couple of other locations are one item away, like Swamp Palace and Desert. I guess Desert was already one item away with the book, but it gives another combination for items to get to Desert.
Yeah. Desert access is something that you don't generally think about until you realize you don't have it and you're starting to run low on locations.
Yeah, it can be locked by a sneakily large number of items because you need either the book plus a glove and a fire source to get in there, or you need a Titan's Mitts and a flute plus a fire rod, or a fire source, I mean.
Yep.
And the mirror, in that case.
And then on top of that, the book is, aside from opening up the desert, it's just a fetch quest. So it's just sort of, sure, you're unlikely to see that item in a large number of seeds just because of how unnecessary it is.
Yeah, normally if you see it and it ends up being necessary, it's because like you needed to go to the early desert play to get your first glove or something.
I'm trying to think. We saw a mirror, an arrow pack, I think 2 arrow packs actually, a bottle. Have we seen all 5 items?
We saw a green 20 in the big chest.
Okay, yeah, I think that's all 5 items then. Assuming I'm not misremembering that we saw 2 arrow packs.
So for the person in chat who wants to know what the randomizer does, what it does is it moves the items around. Just like if you're playing this game normally, you're playing this dungeon, it gives you the hammer. There's puzzles in this dungeon you can solve with the hammer. The randomizer moves the dungeon items around, but just make sure to do it in a way that you can still beat the game. So like we'll say an odd location is hammer locked if there's puzzles or obstacles that you need to use the hammer to beat. And the game will make sure that it doesn't put something that you need to get to the hammer behind those hammer puzzles. So that's basically the gist of the randomizer.
Yeah, like actually a really good example of that is coming up on Boulder's screen here. Once he goes down these stairs, he'll have to knock down the little mole face things, and he'll have to use the hammer to do that in order to reach the boss of the dungeon. Therefore, the randomizer will not put the hammer on the boss of the dungeon. And also, the randomizer won't put anything that blocks the hammer that you need to get to the hammer on the boss. It's the same principle. But other than that, yes, randomizer just basically turns the game into a big puzzle where you have to figure out what you can do with what you have to get to where the items are to win the game.
Absolutely. And welcome to the Raiders from SpeedGaming. Both these runners have done mostly the same checks so far, so we really don't have... Hard to say who would be ahead. Like they've got a few one-off checks that the other hasn't done, and Boulder's a little bit further ahead in Pod, but definitely still way up in the air. And Boulder is going into his helmet sword fight, holding that sword out to get a little bit extra range on those hammer hits. And looks like he's going to bust out the bow to finish off helmet sword.
The big distinguishing factor at this point is that after both of these runners got both the fire rod and the bow out of the front of Pendant Thieves Town, daaanty took that to Skull Woods and killed himself a moth, while Boulder chose not to. And he'll go back to that later.
So Pod came up with the mirror, which only gives us those 2 locations. So in terms of new locations to get to, the runners really don't have too much change from what they were thinking before they went into Palace of Darkness. They've got the pyramid plus pyramid ledge plus catfish sort of route that would give them a decent amount of items. They could also do some one-off mirror checks, but look, this flute's telling me he's probably doing the pyramid play.
Yeah, it's possible that he could loop in the Cave 45, the cave south of the Grove, into this. That would be a fairly common thing as well. But going, directly to the pyramid would generally be a bit faster.
And daaanty is getting into his helmet sword fight, just smashing away at that hammer. With the hammer, it takes 17 hits to knock off that mask, and then you can kill Helmasaur. And also showing off a nice trick there. If Helmasaur either has a fireball on screen or is readying a fireball, like the fireball's out of his mouth already, if you break the mask, the fireball will despawn and you won't have to deal with it.
Yep. Which is exactly why he waited a couple seconds to get that last hit in. He knew And he's got a dead Helmasaur to show for it. Meanwhile, Boulder, we are seeing this cave here, but it's nothing.
Yeah, for Dan, like Daaanty was showing, it's very nice to count your hits on Helmasaur, because then if you get up to 16 and you see he's readying an attack, if it's the fireball like what Daaanty saw, you just wait till it comes out and then smash that mask and the fireball goes away.
Yep, and now he is left with the same situation that Boulder is in, basically. It's looking like Flute to 4. We'll see if he goes for that cave as well, or if he skips directly to the bomb.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense to see these runners both do the same play, because they don't really have that many other great locations. The pyramid gives them 3 relatively quick items, and then even the option to go up to Catfish, which isn't fast, but it's not going to get much faster. So no really better time to do it if you're going to do it.
Yep, then we do see Daaanty is following the route here. So not going to get any new information on his side until they diverge again. But even until they do, he does have that Skull Woods clear in his back pocket. He will not have to go back to that later, where Boulder will have to find time for it.
Yeah, and I think a decent time may be relatively soon, because if these checks come up nothing, we see the book there, which will give us Desert Palace access, so perhaps that's the next play. But the North Dark World checks with, I guess they can only do Graveyard Ledge right now, though Boulder has not checked Bumper Ledge or Lumberjack yet, which you could get those both in that area.
Yeah, we know that Bumper Ledge is nothing, and Lumberjack is not reachable without the boots. But good information to have just in case.
And see, we both saw the pyramid come up with nothing in either of those chests. One of them was a green 20, but at this point, it could be even a heart container.
Yeah, this item pool will cap us out at 14 hearts in some combination of heart pieces and containers. And once you cap out, any further heart pieces or containers that you find get replaced with those green 20s that we've seen a few of already.
And we see a Boulder going up to Catfish. Gonna get that check out of the way. Like, it's not a fun check to do, but you got to do it at some point if you're gonna ever do it.
Yeah, like this is definitely, like, if you were to poll all of the runners on what their favorite and least favorite checks were, I have to imagine this one would be pretty close to the bottom, alongside probably Agina.
Yeah, definitely got at least one vote in the commentary.
But we do have that book. Daaanty just picked it up, so they both got it now. I'm kind of expecting the next play after this from both of them to be the Bombos tablet directly in the Desert Palace. We cannot get what's on that tablet without a Master Sword, but we can still have the information there of whether we need to come back for it when we do find a second sword.
Yeah, that's a very good point that they can get Bombos tablet on the way to Desert. Looks like Boulder's also going to walk over to Zora.
Yeah, he's leaving the 2 items in the waterfall behind like this, but he can at least scout this ledge item, which may be required. We don't know if we need that Bombos or not. And he can't pay Zora. And
since he beat the Armos Knights, his setting up the splash deletion glitch will be a bit difficult to do, especially since he only has 11 arrows.
Yeah. On Daaanty's side, meanwhile, we see he's not going to Catfish. He is going for the Graveyard Ledge, though, and can go back to Catfish afterwards.
Yeah, it doesn't have the flippers, but it can use the nice little bomb jump over there to get back over by Catfish. And we see that Zora came up with just a green 20. Boulder is going to try to splash delete to get to the Bombos, and he's able to get it so far. Yeah, this is one of the harder ones, because you have to be so fast with your timing, because you have to delete 2 splashes rather than just 1.
Yep, it can be a bit tricky for sure, and he's going to take a sec here to reset it up. And if he fails it this time, he does not have the arrows to, he doesn't have the arrows to go with it, so he has no choice but to bail and just come back with flippers for that Bombos, which he only really needs to come back if it opens Misery Mire. Otherwise, probably don't need to see it this seed.
Yeah, for sure. The knowledge there is pretty good. You know that if you need that, you're going to get the flippers beforehand. And since Swamp is a Swamp is a crystal. You know it's not going to be a situation where your opponent could have skipped flippers if they did that sequence break. So you know you're going to have to get the flippers here. Meanwhile, we see Dainty having a bit of trouble with the current jump and electing to just skip out on Catfish. We know he won't get punished for that. It was just a heart container.
Yep. What he was trying to do there was jump off the ledge and let go of his bomb with timing so that the bomb would explode in midair while he was also in midair. This would knock him into the screen transition, which, if you jump into the water and then you screen transition within 1 frame, the game quits caring that you don't have the flippers and it lets you swim. He was trying to do this to swim to the other side of the world.
Yeah, same idea as the normal fake flipper you see, except that you have to use the bomb to give you that little push to get the screen transition. We see half magic up on Boots Lock, which is a bit of a bummer. Probably not going to get that, but it's also nice that Desert is not Boots Locked. These runners will be able to clear it.
Yeah, and honestly, in this item pool in particular, my view on half magic is that it's absolutely wonderful to have, but if you have the lamp, it suddenly just kind of becomes who cares. Because in my view, for these runners in this item pool with no silver arrows, its biggest utility is actually in the Ganon fight to keep torches lit.
Absolutely, yeah. You can be really really liberal with the fire rod usage to go a little bit faster. But you know, if it's in this sort of location, like it's not going to save time picking it up normally.
Yeah, coming back for it with the boots later, definitely not going to be a time save.
Absolutely. And
then also, as chat's mentioning, they have bottles for potions anyways, so it's not going to be a big issue. And
yeah,
that
even
with the lamp.
Even with a Master Sword Ganon fight, with the lamp and the bottles, you're going to be fine.
So we do see the back of Desert Palace here. Honestly, it's a deceptively slow thing. Like, it's not that bad, but it is several rooms you've got to get through. And then you've got to sit through this on Boulder's side.
Yeah, luckily they have the fire rod, so they'll be able to get a nice quick kill on the boss should things go well.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful, because fire rod, two-shot kills each of the 3 land molas here. It actually does the same damage as the gold sword, which we will not be seeing. But just having to watch that wall move, I hate it.
Yeah, one of the few cutscenes left in the randomizer version. We see Boulder able to get a nice little 2-cycle. They had a bit of a short hop to Nig, so he couldn't get the 1-cycle, but nice 2-cycle there. And we'll see how Daaanty fares in his land moles fight. He gets the same short hop. Didn't have quite enough magic to be able to get the 1-cycle, but still really nice there. And he gets another. Yeah. Those short hops can be so annoying.
If Daaanty had used his lamp to light the torches in the previous room, he would have been able to get the 1-cycle for sure.
All right, able to get that last one with the hammer. Boulder's going back over to the left side. And so a little point to make about the way these runners routed this dungeon. They both elected to skip the right side for a couple of reasons. One, you could get the item on land moles and not have to do it at all. 2, neither of these runners have done a Gina yet, so after going over here and getting the items, they're able to jump down and do a Gina relatively quickly. So just a nice piece of situational awareness by these runners.
Yep. Because if the item was on land molas, like you said, they wouldn't have to come here at all. They could just hop off the ledge to go to a Gina that way. But now we're about to see Boulder. He'll get the item here, which is unfortunately nothing. He'll backtrack out of the room instead of mirroring, and he'll just take the easternmost exit and jump off that ledge.
Yeah, those sort of little things, it's easy to notice them when you see someone else doing them, but that's really what separates like the good runners from the great runners. It's these little things you notice while you're playing through to save, 5 seconds here, 10 seconds there that add up over the course of the race.
Yep, and it's not just the things in your routing like this and what rooms you go to and what order you do them. It's also about how you do the rooms and how you move through them. Like, good runners will save frames to 1 or 2 seconds on a lot of screens compared to inexperienced runners. And even in the randomizer setting where you don't know where all the items are to start with, that can be a big deal.
Absolutely. Even if you're just thinking, okay, on this screen, I'm saving a quarter of a second. Well, if there's 200 screens in the game, that really adds up.
Yes, a lot. We do see nothing here. So, honestly, I'm kind of left wondering. I think Boulder's going to do Skull Woods here.
Yeah, Boulder's got Skull Woods and North checks. Dainty has the Catfish, and trying to think what else they've got.
Back to Thieves Town for 2 of 3 items if you count the green pendant.
Oh, and also Spike Cave, which is probably where Dainty's going.
Yep, Spike Cave is in logic with the Magic Cape and a Magic Extension, which is defined as either a bottle or the half magic. So we do see Boulder is going to catch up on the crystal count here. Dante has 5. And Dante's going to give us a new check that is quite likely to show us something, just because of how few checks there are left.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like the flippers in the midst are going to be, those will give us a lot more locations left. So those gotta be what our runners be hoping for. Just a 50 in Spike Cave though, so we're going to have to go somewhere else.
Dante not even saving here. He's just taking the hard reset. He doesn't care about that cash.
Yeah, save a little bit of magic too.
Yeah, that's true. You don't get a magic refill when you save and quit. You do get your health reset a little bit, like as we see Dante on 7 hearts here. But magic, no, not so much.
Dainty also has the Zora area. We kind of forgot about those because when he skipped Catfish, he also skipped the Zora area that Boulder saw. But yeah, that's why you'll see runners, even when they have the invincibility item, they'll still tank as much of the spikes as possible and use the hook shot and stuff, because if you're going to just save and quit out of there, you get to keep all the magic that you don't use, whereas your hearts are going to be the same no matter what.
And we do see 2 checks here that Boulder did not do earlier.
Yeah, these are both out of logic, and you got to kind of feel a bit bad if you get something like the mitts here, because you know your opponent could have gotten them a while ago. Master Sword, not feeling too bad, maybe mildly annoyed that you could have fake flippered a little earlier, but not a game changer.
Yeah, you do need a Master Sword to win the game. And honestly, with that location pretty isolated for Boulder now, I would be a bit surprised to see him get it, which means Dante may have sword advantage in the late game if this race is close.
Yeah, that sword, it definitely comes in, like you're saying, towards the later game. No immediate progression, but yeah, always very good.
Actually, sword is immediate progression. We haven't seen any tablets.
That's true.
So actually, yeah, that could be a big deal if there's something on the Bombos or the Ether tablets.
And Dante's going to try. Dante having hard reset's going to have a lot easier time because he, when you beat the Armos Knights, it messes up the value that you use to get that glitch. But since Dainty is hard reset since then, it's back to normal and he's able to get that Splash Deletion nice and easy.
Yep. He also had the water walk there, which meant that he was a little easier to jump down the waterfall quickly. Didn't have the timing issues that Boulder had.
Getting our pet check over there from Boulder. It's just rupees today. We're not going to need to do the pedestal.
Yeah, honestly, though, you kind of expect that when you see Turtle Rock as a pendant.
Yeah, I think right now at this point, the only thing our pedestal could have been is the Meyer entry medallion.
Yes, it could not have been flippers because those are required for Ice Palace, even though fake flippers is a trick. And that's the only thing we need besides a potential Meyer medallion. No, it could not have been mitts because you need those for Ice Palace and Turtle Rock. And then that's all we need besides the Meyer medallion. So is this going to be the back of Thief's Town play for Dante here, I think?
Yeah, I think so. There's not anything else over here. He's already done the north. He's done the whole north of Dark World already.
And remember, we've seen the first 4 of this dungeon already. It had bow and fire rod. That's a great haul no matter how you look at it. It's pretty justifiable for runners to skip out of a pendant dungeon after finding both of those.
Yeah, but at this point in the game, this is probably the most dense location they've got left, having the 2 items in the back plus the green pendant. The only other stuff I think we haven't seen are those tablets.
Yeah, and honestly, even with flute in hand, I am slightly surprised that both runners did flute to 6 for desert instead of looping in that Bombos tablet check, but you're trying to go fast, you're racing here. You can't actually get the item on the tablet, so just knowing that you have to come back later, sure, it's good and all, but it doesn't immediately get you anything.
Looks like Boulder's going up to do Spike Cave. We'll see if he decides to check the tablet while he's up here as well. Daanty did not do that. Boulder will not be able to collect it. He does not have a Master Sword, but he could still check it.
Yeah, and then I suppose it's worth noting that we are on out of logic Master Sword. So in theory, unless we see another sword, whatever's on the tablets is behind the flippers.
Yes.
Of course, if we see the flippers on a tablet, that just means that there's another sword somewhere in the world before them. Like, say, here in the back of the Sound, maybe.
It looks like Boulder is going to go up there and take a look at that ether tablet.
Okay, so this is going to be an information edge for him. But if it's nothing, there's a decent chance that Daanty just never gets up here. So, could be information advantage in exchange for real-time loss. We'll see how it goes.
It's hard to imagine Daanty ever getting up there. There's just nothing in that area. He's got other things he'll have to check before he gets up there.
Well, if he finds the mitts, then the Dark Mountain suddenly becomes a really appealing play, and Mirror makes the tablet a pretty easy route from that.
That's true. Though I guess if we get the mitts, the only thing we could possibly need are the flippers and the medallion. And we see a sword. There is a sword in the back of Thieves Town, so the tablets are in logic after all.
Yep, tablets are in logic, and unless the fourth sword is somewhere else along the path now, Daanty likely to have sword advantage throughout the rest of the seed, which, when you're doing silverless cannon fight, that's a good minute to a minute and a half or so time save.
Yeah, he's definitely feeling, well, he won't know that he has sword advantage, but it will be worth the trek, or almost worth the trek to Thieves Town, even if the rest comes up empty, just for that sword.
Yeah, especially because I think that sword is probably a good hint towards the Bombos tablet at this point, as the tablet that we, as viewers, have not seen.
Yeah, very good point. There's only so many locations left. Now that's in logic. Would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, especially with blind just dropping junk. So there is that pendant turn-in. There is the Bombos tablet. And for Daanty, there's the ether tablet. I'm not coming up with anything else though.
Daanty still has catfish as well.
Oh yes, that's very true.
Looks like Boulder's making the same play Daanty just did, going back over to Thieves Town.
He's also pretty well out of checks, I believe, at this point, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think the main checks Daanty has on him are those out-of-logic waterfall checks. And did Daanty go to the hobo as well?
Oh, no, that's something that neither have done. It's not in logic, but it is. Fake flippers will get you to the hobo, and neither runner has done that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see if that's required after we get our Titan's mitts.
Yeah, I give it about a 45% chance of being required. I give Bombos the other 45.
Not a fan of Quake Medallion today. Considering we haven't seen it, definitely a good point, because it's more likely that when there's a required dungeon that it'll be the medallion you have already, because the one that you don't need, could be in a lot more locations.
Yeah, it could be in the depths of Turtle Rock. It could be in Ganon's Tower. If it's in Ganon's Tower, then obviously it can't open up the Crystal Dungeon. Could be anywhere.
It looks like daaanty is going to decide to go up and check that ether tablet. It's not going to pay out for him, but definitely doesn't want to leave that behind.
Okay, so that's a bit of an efficiency gain for Boulder here, who combined this check in with a Spike Cave check and was able to save a little bit of time not having to climb this side of the mountain twice. Also, not having to watch that cutscene saves a couple seconds.
Yeah, and so that looks to me like he's following the logic. So yeah, he looks like he's going to go over to Bombo's tablet thinking, okay, we're pretty pigeonholed into where we can go this seed. I already skipped Catfish earlier. Let's see if this sword is our progression.
Yeah, because especially in daaanty's case, the reason he skipped Catfish was because he was failing the Kern jump. So it's kind of, if it's Catfish here, that just feels really bad because you were trying to get to it and you just couldn't because you couldn't execute it. But if it's Bombos here, then yeah, you follow the logic, you're in good shape, and this is honestly likely not something that your opponent did. So you're probably just good to go. I guess for chat who may be less familiar with it, the Kern jump is so named because the runner that came up with it is called Kern. That's the whole story. And there's our progress.
Yep, there's our progression. So it was the sword was our progression, and it leads to the other sword, funny enough.
Yep. It also opens up our 6 crystal Swamp Palace, which is incredibly likely to have the mitts at this point.
Yeah, Swamp always has a penchant for having the mitts, and there's just not that many locations left in the game that are not Swamp Palace, so yep.
Yeah, like if it's not here, like we've seen all the fetch quests too. So really, if it's not in Swamp, then I think we've got to see the boots as a fetch quest to them.
Yep, I think that was what I was gonna say. The boots could give us 2 more items, but I don't think there are any other items any locations we haven't checked except for Swamp Palace at this point. Between the 2 runners.
Chat's reminding me we have not actually seen Hobo. It could be there. That would be the comedy option at this point.
Yeah, and for daaanty, I think at that point, that would be your next check after this. You just walk up and then mirror over in the pod area.
Yeah, I don't think daaanty ever goes to Catfish the seed. Like, there's just no way.
Well, it's just if we were playing the hypothetical where I don't think there will be, just because we know that it's nothing. Because Swamp Palace, if that was empty, he's going to go to Hobo, and then theoretically he'd be close enough to Catfish to go there. But we know Catfish is nothing, so it's going to be either Swamp Palace or the Hobo.
Yeah, and I think he's just in his mind gotta commit to not going there after how things played out earlier.
Absolutely.
Actually, chat's asking if we've seen the Lake Hylia Island. I am pretty sure we have, but I could not tell you what's on it, which is probably because it was jumped.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact time when either of them would have checked it. Perhaps daaanty checked it when he was fake flippering.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did, but I just cannot recall what was on it.
All right, so Boulder elected to check Magic Bat. He's going to go turn in his green pendant, get the Ether Medallion, and then we'll see where he ends up going. Probably, you got to imagine Bombo's tablet. I think that's probably all he's got left.
That sounds right to me, yes. Now there's bombs. I wonder if you're daaanty here, I don't think you go left side. But with Diver Down being what it is, there is a case to be made to just bite the bullet and play for it being there and save the time on having to come back later at the expense of losing all the time if it's in the back.
Yeah, I like this by daaanty because he knows that he needs to get his mitts or something leading to the mitts here or in one of the 2 locations he hasn't checked. There's also the chance that the big keep hitting in the back and he has to go back in anyway. So in terms of like, you're either gonna have to go back in for a couple of reasons and spend a little bit of extra time you wouldn't have if you diver down, or you get to save a lot of time with the item being back here.
Yeah. We did find the compass though, and no mitt, so unless Argus drops the mitts, I think daaanty has to go back in at this point.
Yeah, it's honestly still his fastest set of checks, which because he's got just Hobo and Catfish versus Left Side Swamp. It's not a very good set of options, but it's all you got.
Yes. We did see Boulder did pull sword advantage away from daaanty there. So they are both going to be on Tempered Sword, which is pretty comfortable.
Yeah, both these runners are going to be about as capped off as you can be this seed, considering that they both full cleared basically the whole game to this point.
Yep, and then if we find a green 20 going forward, it could have been the sword. We'll never know. We'll never really care either, because gold sword over tempered sword is marginal. Nice quick kill there from daaanty on the phase 2, getting those 2 fire rod shots right into the spin, kills Argus, gives us a big key. And yeah, we're definitely going back in. There's 2 items and a map to be found, I believe.
Yeah, so like I was saying, so even though it didn't pay off to go to skip left side yet, it could still, because if that item is in the big chest, you would have to double dip anyway.
Yep, and if the item's in the big chest, then daaanty not actually going to have to go left side at all. So we'll still be saving time.
Absolutely, yeah. The only thing that could be left after Mints would be our entry to if Quake was Turtle Rock, or we needed the boots for Ganon's Tower. And we see Boulder over there getting his mitts. I'm sure he's going to follow daaanty right into Swamp Palace, because he also has the same. I think he only has the Hobo left, so even more obvious to go in here.
Yep, Boulder's seen Catfish, seen Graveyard Ledge, seen everything else I can think of. So yeah, I don't think he's got any other choices here. He is on his last location.
All right, just bombs. So we're down, looking like we're down between Hobo and the other item on the left side, unless we're forgetting something.
Yeah, and if we're forgetting something, chat hasn't told us about it either, so. Now we do see here the pain of Left Side Swamp. It's slow. You have to go get that key. Then you have to run around here, unlock the door, flood the area, watch it flood, and then go back and swim through it.
Yeah, we'll see if Boulder decides to do the diver down. That saves a little bit of time over here. We know that it will probably pay off because there's the item's not in the big chest, but we'll see.
And chat's asking about Bombo's tablet. Bombo's tablet had the flippers, so they both did it and then ran right over into Swamp Palace, and they both have practically no locations left. It was basically, I think it was hard last location for Boulder, and second to last location for daaanty, who hasn't been to Catfish.
So with where the sword ended up being, do you think either of these runners are going to feel behind having pulled that? I guess somebody could have at least checked the Bombo's tablet earlier, like we were mentioning, but and there's the mitts, so we got a lot more to go to now. But do you think either of these runners are going to feel particularly behind? Because that was kind of you kind of get funneled into the last location thing there.
Yeah, the only way that you feel behind here is if you think your opponent did an early fake flipper after pulling that flute. Also, you say there's a lot more to go here. I think we're about to find out that daaanty's in go mode.
Yep, there's a good chance he's in go mode. If it's Bombos, it'll be really good for getting that splash deletion. If it's Quake, we're going to have to go on a bit of a hunt. It's Quake Medallion, so Rando decides to crush our dreams, and these runners have still got to keep looking for stuff, and that could be basically anywhere.
Yep, could be in Ice Palace, could be in Turtle Rock, as long as Quake doesn't open that too. Could be, yeah, anywhere.
Yeah, you're definitely not happy to see Quake Medallion there. You already got funneled into last location thing, and you think you're going to be in go mode, and then nope, not yet.
Yeah, on the other hand, if you're a fan of the Boulder here, this is probably the best case scenario for him, because it does give him a chance, as he is diver downing here. He'll save a bit of backtrack time, but it does give him a chance to find that Quake first and get back ahead.
Yeah, and he also he might feel a little bit better, at least not seeing him eat Bombos, because he wasn't able to get his splash deletion, and that'll be a straight time loss for him. So yeah, I agree, definitely a good chance. The mountain probably has the most locations, but it's not necessarily the best to get to because it's just kind of a little bit slow.
Yeah, we see here daaanty is doing what is almost certain to be a smith chain check instead of going to the mountain. Which, with mirror, flute, it's really not a bad check at all.
Yeah, you got the hammer pegs, the smith turn in, and purple chest.
Yeah, so what it really comes down to here, if you're a fan of the Boulder or you want to see a game 3, which if necessary will immediately follow this one for people watching live, you want to see Quake not turn up on the smith chain here. You want to see Boulder go straight to the mountain.
Yeah, it could come down to who decides. I mean, I feel like it'd be hard to decide to do ice before Turtle Rock, just because Turtle Rock comes with the mountain for free, and if you're coming to the point where you're picking pendant dungeons, you're probably gonna do Turtle Rock while you're up there. But maybe one of these guys decides to do Ice Palace early and finds it in there.
Yeah, actually, that might be something really interesting if Boulder were to make that choice, because I don't think that's a choice daaanty makes with all the 6 overworld checks on the mountain being available to him.
Yeah, and then if you come up empty on those 6 and you are able to get into Turtle Rock, it's just really hard to not go in there because it's got the most items left in the game of any other check. But the one thing that's good about Ice Palace is with the Cane of Samaria, it's not nearly as hard of a full clear as it would be if you were not able to take advantage of the Icebreaker glitch.
Yep, Icebreaker is just a fun little technique that lets you skip that long middle segment of Ice Palace that has no chests in it, and instead just skip right to the part where there are chests to open. So it's fun.
We'll get to see the purple chest over here on daaanty's side. You gotta imagine he goes to the mountain after this if it's not here, and it is not. So let's see where he flutes to.
Yep, it's gonna be either 1 or 8 at this point. Oh, 8. Okay, so this is probably going to be Hobo, and then whether it's into Ice Palace afterwards, we'll see. Or I'm just a liar. No?
Maybe he didn't check Lake Hylia Island. Just a green 20.
Okay.
Probably was a piece of heart earlier because we've already been seeing pieces of heart gets converted on daaanty's side.
Yeah, that is exactly the kind of thing that I would see and then forget half an hour later, so.
Yeah, kind of your when you play in this game, you get your mind processes thing is junk or not junk, and all the junk gets thrown in the same box.
Yep. If you don't have to come back to it, then who cares? And it's not Hobo.
Yep, just giving us a 20 today, so yeah, we're gonna have to go into some pendant dungeons or climb the mountain. It looks like daaanty's fluting away. He could still be fluting to 8 because it's honestly probably, yeah, it's quicker to get there, get to Ice Palace from there.
Yeah, fluting there if you want to go into ice is absolutely the right move. But this does mean that if Boulder mirrors and is straight to the mountain, which actually really, it's not going to be straight to the mountain for him. He's going to go to Mire first, confirm that he's not in go mode, do the quick 3 checks there. But if it's to the mountain after that, then it's basically whichever runner chose correctly has a significant advantage.
Yeah, I think what daaanty's doing here is like, you don't want to get baited into Pendant Turtle Rock. So just do Ice Palace first, and then you'll know for a fact if you have to go into Turtle Rock or not, because that will be your last couple of locations. It also could come down to like how these runners are feeling about where they're at with regards to being ahead or behind. Because maybe if you're behind, you're willing to go up to the Death Mountain and risk going into Turtle Rock for nothing, because that could be your win condition.
Yep. And I don't know what Boulder's mindset is right now. But if that's anywhere near what it is, then we could see something really interesting in about 20, 30 seconds here.
Chad asking about who has an advantage. So right now, daaanty has done more checks. So it looks like a slight advantage for daaanty, but it really just comes down to who finds the Quake Medallion first. Whoever finds the Quake Medallion first is clearly ahead. And yeah, that's really where we're at in this lead.
Yep, we are just in a full medallion hunt mode. There are no crystal dungeons that we can get into and clear. Boulder fluting to 8 as well, though. Is this going to be straight into Ice Palace? Is this going to be Hobo? What's it going to be?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think that Boulder saw like Hylia Island yet, so this one definitely makes sense.
Yep. And then the big question will be when he gets back to that shallow water after checking Hobo. Flute to 8, flute to 1. Flute to 8 turned out to be correct. There it is.
Yep, an hour and 22 minutes and 37 seconds. Dainty is in go mode with a asterisk that they could still be Big Key on the torch, but for all intents and purposes, go mode.
If the Big Key's on the torch, the boots are probably in Ganon's tower anyways.
Yeah, and if they're not, they're probably in Turtle Rocks or Dark Death Mountain. So yeah, it's very unlikely that we could get boots to be that annoying even because they've just full cleared the game. There's just not that much left.
Yep. Just the chances of uncertain factors coming into play at this point are low. So it's going to be, can Dante play clean enough to hold his advantage, or can Boulder play cleaner and come back? Getting Deadrock there really not helping, especially since he's on the mountain to begin with. And while this is a lot more items, we unfortunately know that it's not going to have the one he wants.
Yeah, it's kind of like once you get in these medallion hunts, it could really be anywhere, and it just mattered who decided to pick the location first. And I'm sure both of these runners had great reasons for the choices they made. It's just that it worked out for one of them, didn't work out for the other.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking earlier about reasons to avoid getting baited independent Turtle Rock. But at the same time, Ice Palace is 3 items. Smith Chain is 3 items. Death Mountain, including Turtle Rock, is 11 items. Potentially 10 if Trinex is holding 1 and we don't see an Ice Rod. But that's still triple minimum either of the others.
Absolutely. So that's a great reason why you would go up here, and that's probably why Boulder's going up here. So sometimes it doesn't work out even when you make the percentage plays.
Yep. And chat's mentioning here that we actually have not seen the Turtle Rock entry requirement. It could be Quake. It could take that dungeon off the table for us. But even in that case, Dark Death Mountain, twice as many items as either Ice Palace or the Smith Chain, and they're not that slow of checks if you take Turtle Rock out of the picture. But we do see Big Key in the spike chest for Dante. The so-called Godmire lets him go straight to the back, not have to worry about anything else. Does mean that if there are boots in here, he won't find them, but to be fair, Boulder's not going to find them either.
Yeah, there's no way you go through all of Misery Mire on a one-shot chance that you get a boots that probably aren't even needed.
Yeah, and boots that probably aren't even here. Like, they are just statistically massively more likely to be in Ganon's tower at this point. We do see Ether opens Turtle Rock, though, and Boulder is going for it.
Yep, can't blame him for this play. It's still got more items than the rest of the game, so definitely makes sense.
Yeah, like at this point for Boulder, Turtle Rock is almost as many items as the rest of the game combined for him. So
there's like no reason that Quake had to be in Ice Palace. It could have been up here, and if that was the case, I think Boulder's in the lead right now because Dainty would have been a bit slower getting up here. So it's just sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yep, and we've got to remember that even though Dante is clearing his 7th crystal right now, entering the Vitreous fight, if Boulder pulls the boots out of here and then goes straight to Ice Palace and the Ganon's Tower Big Key is on the torch, this still could turn out okay for him. It's not over until we see that key in Ganon's Tower.
Absolutely. Dainty showing off the glitch where if you swing your sword at the eyeballs while using the cape, the magic joins slowly, and it's going to take out Vitreous with a few arrow shots, and we'll collect a 7th crystal. So normally that would mean we have a little game where you guess where the GT Big Key is. However, our robotic companion is on vacation. So you're going to have to put your guesses in chat, and if your internet points will be even more fake today, they only will exist in your hearts. So pick a number between 1 and 22 where you think Ganon's Tower Big Key will be, and we'll see where that goes.
Yep, chat is free to guess. We will keep track, but I'm honestly not too sure if we've got a good way to track the winners.
Yeah, it was too popular of a race, too many people. You can always argue with anybody else who says they were before you. That's on you.
Yep, but guessing is still fun.
Absolutely. And I know you're a man. You like the 10 guess, the man of the 10. So I'm like the 14. So we'll see how that goes.
Yep, that does happen to be my favorite number. And we do see Dante is taking the southern portal here. He didn't have the Turtle Rock portal already open, so choosing one over the other is kind of a wash. But picking this one does let him check the Super Bunny Cave, the 2 chests in here. And I kind of expect, actually, that we'll see him check the 4 chests in the Hookshot Cave, just potentially as a hedge against the boots, because they are that fast.
Yeah, and they make the gauntlet so much easier, even if the GT big key is not on the torch.
Yeah, being able to just dash through a couple of those rooms does make some strats in there a fair bit more consistent.
And plus, when you go up through Super Bunny Cave, you get to avoid having to deal with dead rocks. And with Quick Swap, it might even it's going to be really close if you don't have the Turtle Rock portal. I think it might even be faster to go through Super Bunny if the Turtle Rock portal is closed and you have Quick Swap.
Yeah, I don't know about faster, but I don't think it's noticeably slower. I would imagine it's probably about the same, but I don't actually know. I guess I should also note that since we don't have the bot for the big key guessing game, Channel is instead running a channel point prediction for 1 through 11 or 12 through 22. So chat can have fun with that.
Yeah, get your guesses in because it's going to close really soon.
Yep. daaanty entering the tower here, and we'll see how it goes. Blue cane. That's not nothing. It's a Y item.
Yeah, I get to put another thing on the tracker. That's about all it gets to at this point. daaanty's going to make the quick check, see if the boots are required or not. And they are not. So daaanty is officially in go mode, and we are not going to have to get the boots.
Yeah, and realistically, this probably makes the race in a state where daaanty's lead's not going to get overturned here, I don't think. It would be beyond catastrophic if something were to happen.
Yeah, even a Ganon's Tower, a despawn glitch would not be enough, because after this, Boulder could still do Smith Chain. He doesn't have to go to the Ice Palace.
Yep. Of course, daaanty does still have to finish. But at this point, we're looking for clean play on both sides, really, for both runners to really show what they've got, even if it's not a situation where the victor of the race is in that big of question.
Yep, all execution. Once you get to the end, it's just all you and your execution.
Yep. So let's take a sec. Let's talk about daaanty's Ganon's Tower routing here. Obviously, you want to check the torch first so that you know whether you have to worry about those boots or not. And that sort of dictates your route for you, doesn't it?
Yep, because then you want to go to the left side to get the Stalfos room to make sure, because then you'll guaranteed have a key, be able to get to Compass room. And there's also a small chance, depending on the key layout, if you were to try to go full left there, that you would get locked out at some point from going to the randomizer room. So you don't want to do that. Just go straight out full left. So this route just makes the most sense.
Yep. There's a reason that any full left Ganon's Tower route starts with the 2 chests on the right, the so-called hook room, in the randomizer at least.
So we'll see. So as far as count, we're up to, I believe, 11. So our 12th will be the next one.
Yes, that is correct.
Check number 12, just a 20.
$13 will be right up here. And then we'll have the first chest in the randomizer room starting at number 14. Of course, for the channel point prediction, that's over as soon as we see 11 checks and have not seen a big key. So congratulations to everybody that took the over on that.
Yep, and 13 turning out to just be 10 arrows, so we're going to have to go into the randomizer room. The ice rod is in its normal kind of randomizer location of being on Laser Bridge, so as if it were adding insult to injury, Boulder now can be Trinex.
Honestly, at this point, that might be a bit of a relief for him, just because he knows it means he won't have to come back.
And there are our boots.
Surprise! They were in Ganon's Tower all along, even if they're not required.
Yep, so we're all the way up to number 18. So see what's in Bob's chest, as it's so called, because you'll see this little anti-fairy that is glitched out. If you do not collect the item of the torch in this randomizer, then the anti-fairy in that room gets glitched.
Yep, and obviously this seed we didn't really have the choice of whether or not to collect that item. We had to leave it because you collect that item by bonking it with boots.
Yeah, Ganon was really preserving Bob today with his boots placement this seed. It was very unlikely that we were going to see Bob eliminated.
Yep. I think daaanty was on 30 arrows before pulling that chest, but a refill before Ice Armos never hurts.
Yeah, it really is annoying when you go into Ice Armos and use up all your arrows and then have to go outside of Ganon's tower to dig for more arrows to beat the mimics. You never want to see them.
Yep, but we've got a really nice Ice Armos quick kill for daaanty there, so he's still on 11 arrows, and that's a big key in chest 20.
Yeah, so we barely dodged our tile room, only 2 checks away, and daaanty's just gonna climb up the tower. The boots will be nice to at least be able to use them for the gauntlet. Would have liked to get them earlier, but at least we're gonna get them.
Yep, and chat asking about the vanilla big key in Ganon's tower. Vanilla is in the same room that we saw, it's just the front chest instead of either of the back ones. So about as close to vanilla as you can get without actually being.
Yeah, and in vanilla you open up that back chest for if you need arrows, so still you skip that right chest in that room.
Mm-hmm. Now we do see Boulder's got Trinex down. Unfortunately, no Quake Medallion for him. Gonna need to get over to Ice Palace for that, which I think it's just that and Smith Chain left for him, so we should see him over there in fairly short order. Did get an Ice Rod and a Cane of Burna for his trouble, which are nice, they fill out your menu, but they don't win you this game.
Yeah, and definitely making the play over to Ice Palace for a couple of reasons. One, you're figuring, okay, I already lost a lot of time in Turtle Rock. I have to hope that my opponent also did that and then did Smith's Chain, which may be a little quicker than Ice Palace. So trying to make the play to his outs. He will get his Quake Medallion probably before daaanty beats the seed, but still going to be a little bit too little too late.
Oh yeah, with Icebreaker, he'll definitely have it by the time daaanty gets to Agatu in the Ganon fight here.
Yeah, just has to make his way over to that free Zor chest.
Those BMOs pushing daaanty around a little bit here, but this is the room where the boots are the nicest to have in the entire gauntlet, because dashing through that first one is super reliable. It's not 100%, but it's not far from it, in my experience at least.
Yeah, for sure. And then if that other one gives you good RNG like you saw there, you can just get a quick swipe on him. We'll get to see our second look at Armos today, or Lamolas today. They've been short hopping a lot today, so we'll have to try for the 2 cycle instead of the 1. Able to get it, very nice.
Yep, and when we've got the Tempered Sword this time, the spins with that weapon do the same amount of damage as the rods, so good amount of damage in there. Can use the spin as a substitute to save some magic, as we saw on daanty's side there. And there's Icebreaker for Boulder, so he'll be tearing through these chests in relatively short order and getting his Quake Medallion and being on his way.
Daanty's gonna have to probably be a little bit careful with his magic on this. He should have to. He's got the magic pot down there. You just got to make sure you don't miss any shots.
Yeah, missing in there would have been painful. I think he's got a green potion in one of his bottles, but I have not been keeping close track.
Yeah, I think one of the fairies was giving away greens today.
Yeah, I think that was Pyramid Fairy specifically. Nice little bonk there over that gap to light those torches. I don't think that it's specifically faster to do that, or if it is, it's not by much. It really looks nice though. Also, it adds to your bonk count.
Yep. We see Boulder expressing his dissatisfaction for that Quake Medallion location. You can't really blame him for that. And you also see daaanty just skipping all these chests at the top, because with this hard item pool, there's not anything that's going to help. Going for the hover, skipping Moldorm, misses it the first try. We'll see if he goes for it again or tries to kill Moldorm this time.
Yeah, daaanty's a silly person. He can do it. But yeah, we do have 13 hearts. It is, I guess Boulder has 14, but it is hypothetically possible for daaanty to pull the last heart he's missing out of there. But other than that, we know that half magic is on the Desert Torch, so there is literally nothing else daaanty could pull that would be of value to him at this point.
Yeah, and I think it might have been Catfish holding our Sanctuary Heart today. So I don't know if we saw that for the heart refill, but it's just we got it late when we had a lot of hearts already.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point, because we were discussing earlier how once you cap out on stuff, the items get replaced with green 20s. The Sanctuary Heart never gets replaced. So if you never find that specific heart, then you're just stuck on 13 like daaanty is. And for people who may be less familiar with Link to the Past in general, that heart is so named because it's the one you get out of the chest in the Sanctuary after rescuing Zelda at the start of the game. It is the only heart container to give you a refill. Every other heart container in the game does not give you a refill, and instead you get a refill after picking up the pendant crystal. Also, while I was ranting on about that, daaanty killed Agatu pretty quick.
Yeah, got a bit of a couple of blue balls and not some nice patterns, but was able to still get rid of him. And we'll see daaanty drop into his Ganon fight.
Yep. Boulder about to grab his Meyer big key here. It'll be in the spike chest, which he's going to check next. Then he'll be straight on to the boss. And Ganon ranting about Bullgrains.
Yep, we saw daaanty get off the double spin on the Trident. This should be a one cycle phase 1, and it is. And he's using dash strategies to try to get the one cycle on phase 2, and it looks like it's going pretty well so far.
Yep, getting that double spin in there off the wall definitely means he's got it, with the rest of his dashes being good. And now he's just got to put up with these warps. Gonna use the lamp here for the torch glitch because his magic is not full. Use the cape a little bit for some safety in there.
Yep, once you get past this warping phase, you just gotta hit 12 spins on Ganon, and there's a short window where he's vulnerable to spins, and he's gonna have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think it's something like there's 2 frames that Ganon is vulnerable, but if your spin attack, which is something like 30 frames, overlaps so, then you're good, you deal damage. So it's pretty easy to get the spins in. Doing it with slashes is a lot more difficult.
Yeah, sometimes when you see Ganon warp, you'll see him put his hands up really quickly. That's the window. So if you ever see him put his hands up really quick right before warping, that's when you have to hit him with your sword swipe.
Yep, but again, it's like a 2-frame window.
Yeah, so you just have to keep this. That's why you use the spins. You don't have to spin if you have Tempered Sword or Gold Sword, but it's just really hard to hit those hits. But daaanty did a really nice job getting his spins in. So all he's got to do is cross this bridge, and he will be our victor. He'll go into the bracket stage as the #1 seed with this victory.
Yep, that is correct. Because of the way the seeding works for the bracket, nobody can catch daaanty as he crosses the bridge with a time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 45 seconds.
Yeah, get your GGs in chat for daaanty. That was a really nice game by him.
Yep, and we do have him in here with us, so GG, congratulations. You're moving on.
Yo, thanks, guys.
I think we do have Boulder finished his Vitreous fight and then forfeited Bright Island afterwards. So that's going to wrap the race up here. But yeah, you got any big thoughts on the seed you want to share to open us up with?
I really hate 2 things about our whole series, and it was Boots late in both of them, and literally pick a bad choice and hope for the best, and literally like the end game of both of them as well. So I feel very fortunate that I didn't choose wrong in either of those, I guess. But I mean, it doesn't feel like a skillful victory in any sense, though.
Yeah, we do have Boulder here with us, so GG's.
Yeah, GG, daaanty.
Yo, GG.
I'm glad you could pick the right of 2 terrible choices both nights.
Yeah, I will say that as a spectator, watching seeds come down to who makes the correct terrible choice, I understand how you feel about that.
Yeah, it's probably fun for Twitch chat. It's just being in the driver's seat. It's not a good feeling. And then I mean, and to have it, go sour for Boulder, I feel bad about that just because, both times it's just a coin flip and, it's like, what do you do?
Hey, that's rando though. You don't need to feel sorry about anything. It's just how it goes, and hopefully I can have a good series for my loser bracket and make it into the brackets anyways.
Yep, you've got a series with Nabs that'll be starting basically whenever you guys schedule it. So good luck and good luck. I do see Nabs there in chat. Good luck to them as well. Hoping to see a real good series between the two of you.
And I mean, I can't feel bad about it because I did win one of my races in the first series against Justin Z, where it was right side versus left side GT, where I just made the right choice and took the lead because of it. So that's rando.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of thing. It is why you play the games. I mean, daaanty, you qualified #1 out of the qualifier series, but still played them out. Still got to play them.
Yeah,
Yep,
I mean, I joined, I think, last Bane tournament 2019. Like, I think I hit the bracket stage as the overall 2 seed at that point, like after the reshuffle. And honestly, it doesn't mean a whole lot because everybody's so good. And I remember I went straight 0-2 in that one. So,
Yeah.
Just because you've punched a ticket to bracket doesn't really mean a whole lot. I could lose my next series, and just like anyone else, could be over really soon.
Yeah, I mean, this time you do get to be the overall #1.
Cool, I guess.
Yeah, it means about as much as it did that time, I think.
Yeah, I got a big old target on my back still. I'm still a luck sack, is what everyone says, which for qualifiers it's probably true, but we'll
yeah, you got to play you got to play tough. There are no weak players in the tournament, really. Like, everybody that got through to the group stage, and a ton of runners that played the qualifiers and didn't get through to the group stage. Tons of really good players just all around. The level of play in the community has gotten just ridiculously high.
100%, I agree with that. That things have just gotten tougher this time around compared to last year.
What are we doing to this bird?
That says something about you too, Boulder. You're here.
I'm taking it for a joyride, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I really wanted to carry the bird around, and I will throw it at this guy right here.
Chat does always love the bird toss.
Yeah, I figured chat would enjoy it.
I'm a fan of that.
Well, GG again, daaanty. I hope one of these times when I actually get to race you, that I can beat you once, since I'm 0-4 in the last 2 months against you. But we just got to keep getting better, I guess.
I mean, we all can improve together. I had said this on the Go Mode podcast about just like, I just played Boulder. I got to play Boulder again, and in rando, especially just kind of normal modes, 4-0ing somebody is like almost impossible. So I do feel like I've used a good chunk of luck. I'm waiting for the well to run dry.
Well, let's be honest here. One of those races, I was completely out of my element and was just trying to put a show on for everybody. And because we played, what was it? Vanilla Swords, Max Randomizer, Cross Keys, and I just absolutely hate Randomizer, like, with a passion. I'm like, I don't know why I agreed to it, and yeah, it did not go well.
Yeah, it was a good time, but GG's, dude. Good luck against Nabs. It should be a fun series to watch.
Yep. Good luck in the brackets. Maybe I will see you sometime in there. Hopefully.
All right, thanks again for coming in for this interview, and definitely give these runners a follow. They gave us a great race tonight, and they're going to give us even more great races in the future. So definitely look around for these guys.
Yep, their links are in Twitch chat there, so go ahead, click those, give them follows. Great people. And I also want to give a shout out to the tracker Bandman, doing a good job giving us just a lot to talk about, making it really easy for us to talk about things, just keeping the tracker lit up. So thanks to him as well.
Absolutely. I give a shout out to my co-commentator Reg, always doing a great job helping keep me in check, keep the conversation engaging. So great job again today.
Yep. And then working with you, Dane, is always a pleasure. So I guess looking at the schedule for the rest of the evening, we were going to have Game 3 of this immediately afterwards if it was necessary. Unfortunately, it did not turn out to be. We do have at 1:10 a.m. Eastern Time, which is about 4 hours from now, we've got a matchup between Illis and Gamachu on SpeedGaming. So any Americans that are going to be up late, any Europeans that are going to be up early, anybody anywhere else in the world that wants something to watch, might be something to check out. And then tomorrow we've got a few games. We've got a 9:40 a.m. Eastern game between Rywek and Lindenlin. We've got a 10:10 game, 10:10 a.m. Eastern between Zelgadis and Top Life. We've got an 11:10 a.m. game between Big Dunka and Koride. We've got a 12:10 a.m. or 12:10 p.m. game, between Trank and Matcap, and then a few others later on in the day. Check the schedule for everything, and check out everything else that's going on SpeedGaming as well. For example, we've got Super Metroid going on SpeedGaming right now. It's always a good time.
Yeah, definitely remember to give the SpeedGaming 1 through 6 a follow, so you'll get to see when these races come on.
Yep. And then on top of that, if you want more Link to the Past Randomizer specifically, there is the ALTTP Randomizer family of channels that you can follow as well. That'll be broadcasting some of these tournament matches as well.
And you always have the option to just, if you see a match on the schedule you want to tune in, it's not getting a read stream, you can just, that's why you follow the runners after the race. You can go over and check out their stream and see what it's looking like.
Yep, and a lot of them do stream just in addition to their tournament races, their practices, and whatnot. So definitely worth following them. A lot of very highly entertaining people in the community. Just runners we saw today, for example.
Absolutely, and it's a great way to learn more about how this game works. Because like when someone's doing a tournament race, they're going all in, trying to go as fast as possible. But if you're just playing around, you can explain some of these glitches and how they work, or general strategies about the game. It can be really helpful to learn the game.
Yep. Anyways, I think that's going to be pretty much it for us. Had a pretty good race here. Unfortunately for Boulder, went a bit awry at the end with trying to just hunt for the one item and not picking the right location despite picking the mathematically solid option, but that's just how the randomizer is. Sometimes it be like that, and he played a very good race. Just didn't turn out in his favor. We'll be looking for more of him next week in his matchup against Nabs. But that's going to be it for us, I think. So, Bandman, I'll give you the floor for the last word.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yep. Goodbye, everybody.